All right, we're rolling.
Awesome. So we had someone ask, how do you tell whether your plants are overwatered or underwatered? So I've got some examples here of some that are underwatered, that are just right, got enough water, and then some that are overwatered and showing signs of rot. So we'll go through the underwatered ones, underwatered ones first. So you've got your Echeveria lemon twist here and your Shaviana, Echeveria Shaviana, and you can see that they're really soft leaves. They're trying to close up, trying to protect themselves. They're really squishy, the leaves, so there's not a lot of water in there. They can even get to a point where, they'll start to drop lower leaves, so the bottom leaves will start to die, and they'll drop them to try and save whatever water they do and they do have in the plant. So another sign is, your potting mix is quite dry. So this one is bone dry, really. So this plant is definitely due for a drink. So, and this one will be exactly the same as well if I pull it out there. So it's very important to make sure that you've got a very well drained potting mix or garden mix if you've got them growing outside. It's a lot easier to control the watering if your plants are in pots, because you can move them around. You can have them under pergolas or something like that, and you can manually water them. Whereas if they're out in the garden, they're exposed, they're going to get rained on a lot. So it's very important to make sure that your mix drains very well, especially if you're going through like a week's worth of just full on water. That can cause a lot of issues for them to rot. So another thing, so we'll go through the ones that are just right. So you've got here your Echeveria Canty, and we've also got Echeveria Blue Curls. So they're looking beautiful. They're not, closed up like the Shaviana. I'm not going to touch the Canty because it's got beautiful farina on it. So I'll just go off the Blue Curls, and it's quite nice and plump there. It's not squishy, and that's a good sign that it's just right. It's perfect. So what you want to do now is make sure that your potting mix drains or dries out completely before you go to water it again next. Then we'll go on to ones that have been overwatered and starting to show signs of rot here. So we've got your Echeveria agavoides ebony, and then we've also got agavoides lemaire. So you can see that they're, especially on the lemaire, it's rotting from the side here, a little bit on the top as well. There's a couple of leaves there that are starting to go on you, and the bottom leaves of this ebony here. So you can save these guys, but there's not a very high percentage that you can. So it's much easier to save a plant that is underwatered than one that is overwatered, because overwatering, they're just going to get to a point where they're just going to rot. So no, it's too much water that we're sitting in, or too much water sitting around the stem of the plant, and then they'll start to rot there. Another thing is, if they water too much, then sometimes the cells can burst, and then you start getting all this spotting on the leaves. I haven't got it. Got it here. Sorry, and that's called edema. So you just want to make sure that your plants don't take in too much water. So it's very important again to make sure that your mix drains very well, especially if you've got them outside in the garden, because you're gonna cop a lot of rain. Well, as opposed to ones that are protected in pots, because I can quickly throw this Canty under cover and it'll be okay. So you can try and protect them. So try and save the ones that are rotted. So I generally, I'll like to take them out of the pot. I'll actually bare root it. So I want to make sure that the potting mix is just bone dry, so really dry around the roots. Then I'll remove all the leaves. You can use a bit of cinnamon, dust that around the stem. You can use a bit of sulfur if you want as well. That's okay. We'll even remove that one there, and that's all of it. And then we just put that aside where it's nice and dry, and you just got to hope that it pulls through. That's all you can do really with these guys when they start to rot on you. So yeah, it really is not a very high chance of survival for them, as opposed to ones that are underwater, because you're less likely going to get rot anyway, because it's bone dry. So yeah, very important to to allow your plants to completely dry out before you apply more water to it. So
if it was on the stem, would you head chop it?
So you can try and head chop them to try and save it, especially if they're on a longer stem. So say like, I don't know, if your Aeonium decided to rot on you, sometimes they can as well. You can just try and head chop it, and hopefully that the top part of the plant will pull through, And you just got to keep, because you start to know if we did trim this cutting here, and this plant, and it was actually rotting, you notice on the stem on the inside that it's starting to, it looks like a brown color. That's actually rot happening there. So it's always good to try and just keep trimming up further towards the rosette until you find just a nice green tip on the end of the cutting. Then you know that you've pretty much got all that rot out of it, and then you just let that callus over for a few days or up to a week, and then you can plant that. Avoid watering to begin with for about a week, and then you can just low amounts of water, and hopefully that, that'll strike, and then you've actually saved the plant. And for the base, well, yeah, same. You can just pull it out of the pot. You can bare root it, let it sit somewhere dry, and hope that it pulls through. So yeah. Whereas the underwater plant, well, yeah, one that's underwater, what's easy to fix it. You just give it all a drink, and then allow that the potting mix to drain or to dry up. Let it wilt a bit, and then the same thing. You just keep watering it that way, rather than one that's already nice and plump and wet, and you just keep watering it. Or it's out in the garden, it's getting lots of rain. So yeah.
How can you tell if your soil's dry or not if you don't want to pull your plants out of the pot every time?
So you can just scratch around. You can use your finger to scratch around to see whether it's dry or not. You can use like a barbecue skewer, because they're nice and long. Put that all the way down as far as you can. Leave it there for, I don't know, about 15-20 minutes, up to half an hour. Pull it out, and then you can tell whether there's moisture on that skewer or not. And if there is, well, there's enough water in there or in the ground, and you can leave it for longer. You can also use like moisture meters. They're available as well at garden centers. You can also get it online too if you want. Some are really good. Sometimes they don't last very long, especially if you actually end up leaving them in a plant for quite a while. The actual probe part can actually rust out and break, or corrode away and break, and it doesn't work then. So it's very important to, you can use it to check what the moisture is like in your soil, and then store it away. That way it can last a bit longer. But those are probably a few good ways to tell whether there's enough, or whether your plant needs a water. So yeah, I think I've covered it everything there. If you have any questions, please let us know, and I'll get through them as quickly as possible. If you're enjoying the videos that we're sharing, please like and subscribe. Hit the notification button as well, because when we upload future videos, then you'll get notified, and you can watch them whenever you feel like it, whenever you got some free time. So yeah, have a great day, and we'll catch you next week.